Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something straight from the heart. Stop depending on others. I've learned in life that waiting for somebody else to rescue you, to validate you, or to make you feel complete is the fast way to stay stuck where you are. You cannot build a future leaning on people who are just as flawed, just as limited, and just as busy with their own problems as you are. The truth is, the only person who's with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the rest of your life is you. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you the most freeing but also the hardest truth you'll ever have to swallow. Nobody owes you anything. This is one of those lessons that hits you hard because we grow up thinking that the world owes us fairness, that people owe us kindness, that friends owe us loyalty, and that family owes us support. But when life smacks you in the face, you realize very quickly that people are living their own lives, chasing their own dreams, fighting their own battle. And while they might love you, while they might even want the best for you, at the end of the day, they don't owe you a thing. See, entitlement is one of the biggest traps keeping people stuck. You sit there thinking, my family should help me. My boss should recognize me. My friends should support me. My partner should understand me. But every time you use the word should, you are building expectations, and expectations lead to disappointment. When you believe the world owes you, you're setting yourself up to stay angry, bitter, and resentful because people are not going to live up to your picture of what they owe you. And when you stay stuck in that mindset, you give away all your power. Let me tell you something about life. It doesn't pay out reward just because you're a good person. Life rewards effort, persistence, courage, and faith. You can be the nicest person in the world, and still, if you sit back waiting for someone to hand you an opportunity, you're going to be waiting a long time. The universe is not in the business of handouts. It's in the business of growth. And growth only comes when you step up and claim responsibility for your own life. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying people won't help you. I'm not saying you won't get support, encouragement, or kindness along the way, but you cannot build your life on expecting those things. If someone chooses to help you, thank them, appreciate them, but never depend on them. Because the moment you build your foundation on other people's actions, you are building on sand. One small change, one broken promise, one disappointment, and the whole thing crumbles. But when you build on yourself, on your grind, on your faith, that's rock. That's something nobody can take from you. I've seen people sit around blaming their parents for what they didn't do, blaming society for what it didn't provide, blaming friends for what they didn't support. But here's the truth. Blame doesn't build anything. Blame is just wasted energy. You can't collect debts from people who never signed a contract with you. Your parents gave you life, but they don't owe you success. Your boss gives you a paycheck, but he doesn't owe you a promotion. Your friends give you company, but they don't owe you endless loyalty. Every person in your life is just that, a person, flawed and limited, just like you. The moment you stop expecting and start taking responsibility is the moment everything changes. You stop waiting on apologies that may never come, and you start healing yourself. You stop waiting on opportunities that may never be given, and you start creating your own. You stop waiting for recognition, and you start validating yourself. That's the kind of power you gain when you realize nobody owes you anything. When I came to this realization in my own life, it set me free. I stopped being angry when people didn't show up the way I wanted them to. I stopped feeling let down when somebody I trusted didn't support my dream because I understood they don't owe me that. If they choose to, great. But if not, I can't let that stop me. See, you can't spend your life with your hand out, waiting for somebody to fill it. You've got to learn to use your own hands to build the life you want. It might sound harsh, but it's actually a gift. Because once you accept that nobody owes you anything, you stop being a victim. You stop waiting for life to be fair. You stop thinking that someone else holds the keys to your destiny. And you realize those keys have been in your pocket the whole time. You might not be able to control who helps you or who lets you down, but you can always control what you do next. That's power, that's freedom, and that's the first step to truly standing on your own 2 feet. Ladies and gentlemen, if you really want to walk with your head held high, if you really want to look in the mirror and feel proud of the person staring back at you, then you got to learn the power of self-reliance. Nothing builds self-respect like knowing you can count on yourself. It's not about arrogance. It's not about thinking you don't need anybody. It's about realizing that when it comes to your dreams, your bills, your choices, and your future, you are the one responsible. When you start handling your own business, something changes inside you. Your confidence grows, your spirit lifts, and suddenly you feel like you can take on the world. See, when you rely too heavily on others, you become fragile. You're like a puppet waiting for somebody to pull the strings. You're waiting on people to validate you, to help you, to carry you, and every time they fall short, you collapse. That's no way to live. But when you learn how to provide for yourself, when you earn your own money, when you solve your own problems, when you fight your own battles, you become solid. You become someone who doesn't break so easily. That strength shows up in how you talk, how you walk, how you approach challenges. You gain a kind of respect for yourself that no compliment, no handout, no outside approval can give. Think about it. Every achievement you work for with your own hands and your own mind gives you a new layer of pride. It doesn't matter how small it is. The first time you pay your own bills without asking for help, you stand taller. The first time you go after a dream and make it happen, even if nobody else believed in you, you feel unstoppable. That's the beauty of self-reliance. It feeds your spirit in a way nothing else can. It tells you, I am capable, I am worthy, I can do this. And that voice inside you is louder than any praise someone else could ever give. Now let me tell you the danger of depending on other people for your sense of worth. When your confidence is tied to someone else's approval, they control your value. The moment they don't clap for you, the moment they walk away, the moment they decide you're not good enough, you crumble. But when your value comes from what you've proven to yourself, no one can take that away. Self-reliance means you've already stamped your own worth and nobody else has the authority to erase it. I've seen people chasing after validation, living their lives just to make someone else proud. They spend all their time and energy waiting for that pat on the back, that word of approval, that recognition. But here's the truth. If you can't clap for yourself, if you can't respect yourself, nobody else's applause will ever be enough. It'll feel good for a moment, but it'll fade, and then you'll be empty again, waiting for the next round of approval. That's a cycle that keeps people weak. But when you become self-reliant, when you learn to stand firm on your own achievements and efforts, you break that cycle. You no longer need the crowd to cheer because you've already decided that you are worthy. Self-reliance also teaches discipline. When you know that you got nobody to fall back on, you push harder. You become more consistent. You wake up earlier. You grind longer. You think smarter because you know it's all on you. And the beauty of that is every time you show up for yourself, your respect for yourself grows. It's not about proving to the world that you can do it. It's about proving it to you. And that kind of proof is priceless. What most people don't realize is that self-respect doesn't come from wishing. It doesn't come from talking. It doesn't come from hoping somebody notices how good you are. It comes from action. It comes from following through on your word to yourself. Every time you say you're going to do something and you actually do it, you build trust with yourself. And trust, ladies and gentlemen, is the foundation of self-respect. If you can't trust yourself, how are you ever going to respect yourself? But when you know deep down that you can count on you, that respect grows naturally. And let me tell you something else. People can see it when you're self-reliant, when you've built your own confidence through effort and discipline. It shows. You don't even have to announce it. The way you carry yourself says it all. People respect people who respect themselves. And self-reliance is the key to that. When you've proven to yourself that you can handle whatever comes your way, you become unshakable. You don't walk around desperate for attention or begging for support because you know you've already got what it takes. And that, my friends, is real power. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you the truth about people. No matter how much you love them, no matter how much they promise you, no matter how much they mean well, people will disappoint you. It's not always because they're bad people. It's because they're human. People change, they get busy, they forget, they fail, they walk away, and sometimes they simply can't give you what you're looking for. If your foundation is built on other people's consistency, you're going to keep falling. That's why I tell folks all the time, don't lean on people for your stability, lean on your discipline. Because while people will let you down, your discipline never will. See, discipline is the one thing in life that will always pay you back. It doesn't lie, it doesn't leave, it doesn't cancel on you at the last minute. If you show up for your discipline, it will show up for you. You might not see the results overnight, you might not feel the payoff right away, but day after day, week after week, month after month, that discipline compounds. It grows, it builds, it strengthens you. And when you've got discipline on your side, it doesn't matter who disappoints you because you've already built your own safety net. Think about it like this. You might count on a friend to push you to the gym, but what happens the day they don't show up? If you're dependent on them, you stay home. But if you've got discipline, you'll go anyway. And every time you go without them, every time you keep moving when someone else falls off, you prove to yourself that you don't need their push. That's how you become strong, independent, and unstoppable. Discipline becomes your best friend, your accountability partner, your motivator. It never ghosts you, it never switches up, it never bails. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying you shouldn't trust people or build relationships. What I'm saying is you can't depend on them for your success. You've got to understand that people are unpredictable, but discipline is predictable. If you read every day, you're going to get smarter. If you work out consistently, your body is going to change. If you save money every month, your bank account is going to grow. Those are guarantees. People can promise you they'll help. They can say they'll support you, but at the end of the day, their words are not guarantees. Discipline, though, that's a promise you can always cash. I've seen people get discouraged because someone they trusted didn't believe in their dream. Somebody they loved laughed at their vision. Somebody they were counting on turned their back. And I tell them, so what? They didn't build that dream for you. God gave it to you. If you rely on people's approval to chase your goals, the first disappointment will make you quit. But if you rely on your discipline, it doesn't matter who claps or who doubts, you're still moving forward. That's the kind of fire discipline gives you. And let me say this, your discipline is the purest reflection of your commitment to yourself. People might encourage you, but they can't do the work for you. They can't study for you, they can't hustle for you, they can't pray for you, they can't stay up late and grind for you. That's all on you. And if you can't trust yourself to be disciplined, you'll always feel let down. Not just by others, but by yourself. But when you develop the muscle of discipline, you start waiting on people to keep you accountable. You already know you're going to show up because that's who you train yourself to be. Discipline also protects you from bitterness. A lot of people walk around angry because somebody didn't support them. Somebody didn't keep their word. Somebody left them hanging. But when you've got discipline, You don't even have time to sit in that bitterness because you're too focused on the work. While they breaking promises, you building habits. While they walking away, you're walking forward. That's why discipline is the best insurance policy against disappointment. It doesn't matter who fails you. You've already built the strength to keep going. Let me give you something to hold on to. People may love you today and leave you tomorrow. They may promise you forever and change their mind in a week. They may swear they'll never let you down, but eventually they will because they're human. But discipline will be there every morning you wake up. Discipline will be there when no one calls, when no one claps, when no one cares. Discipline doesn't require approval. It doesn't care about applause. It only cares about results. And the more you stick with it, the more those results will change your life. So remember this, people will disappoint you, but your discipline won't. Train yourself to lean on it, to trust it, to make it your foundation. Because when you got discipline, you can survive disappointment, betrayal, and rejection. With discipline, you don't just survive, you thrive. Ladies and gentlemen, I need you to understand something that most people run from but can never escape. Real growth happens when you struggle alone. It's easy to feel strong when you've got a crowd cheering for you, when you got friends holding your hand, when you got somebody pulling you through. But life has a way of stripping all that away to see what you really made of. In those moments when it's just you against the storm, when no one else is there to catch you, when no one else understands what you're going through, those are the moments that shape you into the person you're destined to be. See, comfort doesn't produce growth. Support feels good, but doesn't make you strong. Growth only comes through resistance. And resistance is something you face when you're fighting battles that nobody else can fight for you. Think about the butterfly trying to come out of the cocoon. That struggle is painful, it's exhausting, but it's necessary. Because if you cut the cocoon and make it easy for the butterfly, it won't survive. It won't have the strength in its wings to fly. The fight is what gives it the power. The same is true for you. If you let everybody else fight your battles, if you run from the struggle, you'll never develop the wings to fly. I know being alone in your struggle feels unfair. You start asking, why me? Why do I have to carry this by myself? Why doesn't anyone understand what I'm going through? But that loneliness is part of the process. It's there to force you inward, to dig deep, to find out who you really are when there's no applause, no help, no safety net. Because when you discover that you can survive by yourself, you unlock a confidence that can't be shaken. You stop being afraid of being abandoned. You stop being desperate for people to carry you because you know you've already carried yourself. The struggle also teaches you lessons that comfort never could. When you're alone, you learn patience, you learn endurance, you learn problem solving, you learn how to think on your feet, how to get creative, how to keep pushing even when you're tired. Those are lessons that only hardship teaches. You don't get wisdom by reading about struggle. You get wisdom by living through it. You get it when you're staring at the bills with no idea how to pay them. When you're chasing a dream nobody else believes in. When you're trying to heal from pain nobody else can feel for you. Those lonely nights, those silent tears, those private battles, that's where growth is born. And let me tell you something powerful. The world may never see your struggle, but they will see your growth. They'll wonder how you became so strong, how you stay so calm under pressure, how you keep standing when life keeps hitting. What they don't realize is that strength came from all those nights you were struggling alone. That peace came from all the storms you weathered without help. That wisdom came from all the mistakes you had to learn from on your own. Growth is invisible while it's happening, but when it shows up, It shows up undeniable. Now, people often think that struggling alone means being abandoned, but that's not always the case. Sometimes God pulls people out of your life during your struggle because He wants you to discover your own strength. He wants you to lean on Him and on yourself, not on everybody else. Because if everyone held your hand through the process, you'd never realize you were capable of walking by yourself. That isolation isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's shaping you into someone who won't break when the next challenge comes because you've already proven to yourself that you can handle it. I've been through moments in my life where I felt like no one was coming to save me, no one was coming to give me the answer, no one was going to make it easier. And as much as I hated it in the moment, I can look back now and see that those were the moments that made me. Those were the moments that built my grit, my character, my determination. Because when you come out of a struggle you survived alone, you carry a new kind of strength, one that no one can ever take from you. So don't be afraid of the lonely seasons. Don't think that just because you're struggling by yourself, you're losing. That's actually when you're growing the most. That's when your wings are forming. That's when your character is being tested. That's when your future self is being built. Struggle may be lonely, but it's never wasted. It's the gym where your strength is trained, the classroom where your wisdom is taught, the fire where your purpose is refined. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to think about how much fear comes from depending on other people. When you build your life on what others can do for you, you start living in constant worry. You worry about whether they'll keep their promises, whether they'll stay by your side, whether they'll show up tomorrow the same way they showed up today. That's fear. That's bondage. You wake up not knowing if your stability is secure because it's tied to somebody else's choices. Depending on others might feel safe for a moment, but it keeps you trapped in insecurity because deep down you know they could change their mind at any time. Now flip that around and look at self-dependence. When you know you can handle your business, when you know you can pay your bills, chase your goals, make your decisions, and keep moving forward without waiting for somebody else's help, that's freedom. That's the kind of power that lets you breathe easy. You're not looking over your shoulder, not waiting on a phone call, not wondering if somebody's going to come through for you. You already know you can come through for yourself. And that kind of freedom is priceless. Depending on others keeps you second guessing. You don't take risks because you're scared someone might not support you. You don't step into opportunities because you're afraid they pull their help at the last second. You end up playing small because your whole foundation is fragile. But when you build your foundation on your own strength and effort, you're not scared to take chances. You can take bold steps because you know even if somebody leaves, you'll still stand. That's freedom. Let me give you an example. If you depend on somebody to pay your way, you'll always be worried about how they feel, about keeping them happy, about not rocking the boat. That's not a partnership. That's bondage. But when you take care of your own finances, you don't have to answer to anyone else. You can make your own choices. You can say no when you want to say no, yes when you want to say yes, because your survival isn't tied to someone else's mood. That's what self-dependence gives you, the power to live by your own decisions. The truth is, people who depend too much on others start to shrink themselves. They silence their voices, they compromise their dreams, they ignore their own needs because they're afraid of losing that support. That's not living, that's surviving in fear. But when you depend on yourself, you get your voice back. You can speak your truth, chase your dreams, and stand firm in your values because you're not scared of somebody pulling the rug out from under you. Freedom means living without chains, and self-dependence is how you cut those chains. And don't think self-dependence means being selfish. It doesn't mean you never accept help or that you isolate yourself. It simply means your stability doesn't rely on anybody else's consistency. It means that while you might appreciate the help, you don't require it. You might welcome the support, but you don't collapse without it. That mindset turns relationships into choices, not lifelines. You start clinging to people out of desperation and start connecting with them out of strength. That shift is powerful because you're no longer acting out of fear, you're acting out of freedom. I see too many people hold back their potential because they're scared of losing the approval of the person they depend on. They want to try something new, but they think, what if they don't like it? What if they stop supporting me? So they shrink, they delay, they give up. But when you're self-dependent, nobody else's opinion has the power to paralyze you. You don't need permission to move forward because your confidence doesn't come from them, it comes from you. That's why freedom and self-dependence go hand in hand. Fear is a prison, and dependence is the lock on the door. You're always waiting, always hoping, always scared the lock might tighten. But self-dependence is the key. Once you realize you can create your own opportunities, handle your own challenges, and keep moving regardless of who stays or goes, that fear breaks. You start to live lighter, bolder, freer. You're not begging, you're not waiting, you're not chained to anyone's choices. You're free. Ladies and gentlemen, I need you to hear me when I say this. You were built with everything you need inside you. From the moment you came into this world, God already placed gifts, talents, creativity, and strength inside of you. The problem is too many people spend their lives thinking they're incomplete. They believe somebody else holds the missing piece to their success or their happiness. They convince themselves that until they get the right partner, the right opportunity, the right approval, they can't move forward. But the truth is, everything you need to rise, everything you need to succeed is already within you. You just haven't tapped into it yet. See, God doesn't create anybody empty. He didn't send you here lacking. He didn't design you to be half a person waiting for somebody else to complete you. You are whole already. But life has a way of covering up your gifts with doubt, fear, and comparison. You start looking at what other people have and thinking you came up short. You look at their confidence, their success, their opportunities, and you think, if only I had what they had. But you don't realize you've got something they don't. You've got a set of abilities, a unique perspective, and a calling that belongs only to you. You were built with resilience inside you. That's why no matter how many times you've been knocked down, you're still standing. You might not even recognize how much strength you've shown, but every storm you survive proves that resilience has been in you all along. You were built with creativity. That's why you could take nothing and turn it into something. That's why ideas come to you when you least expect them. That's why deep down, you know there's more to you than the life you're living right now. You were built with courage. It may not always feel like it, but every time you face something you thought would break you and came out stronger, that courage showed itself. The biggest mistake people make is thinking they're waiting on something outside themselves to finally feel ready. They say, if I had more money, I'd start. If I had more support, I'd try. If I had more time, I'd go after my dream. But let me tell you, waiting will rob you blind. You're not missing anything. You're missing the belief that what's already inside you is enough. The seed is in you. The dream is in you. The potential is in you. What you're really waiting on is the decision to stop doubting yourself and start using what you've already got. When you start depending on your inner resources instead of outside approval, you begin to see just how much power you carry. That vision you've been given, that hunger you feel, that fire inside your chest, it's not there by accident. It's proof that you've been equipped. God don't give you a dream without giving you the tools to chase it. They may not look like the tools you expected. They may not come packaged the way you imagined, but they are there. Sometimes it's not about gaining more, it's about digging deeper. I've learned that when people say they're not ready, what they're really saying is they don't trust what's inside them. They're scared it won't be enough. But here's the truth. It's always enough, because you don't need everything at once. You just need to start with what you've got. When you use the gifts you already have, more opens up. When you take the step you can take today, the next step reveals itself tomorrow. But if you never trust what's in you, you'll stay stuck waiting for a sign that never comes. And let me tell you, people may doubt you, people may overlook you, people may even tell you you're not good enough, but their words don't change the truth of what's inside you. Their opinion doesn't erase your gifts. Their rejection doesn't cancel your purpose. They didn't put the gift in you so they don't get to define it. You were built with everything you need, and no one can take that away. The moment you embrace that truth, you walk differently. You stop begging for validation. You stop waiting for permission. You stop shrinking yourself to fit in places you've outgrown. Instead, you start moving with confidence because you know you already have the equipment to win. The challenge is not whether you have what it takes. The challenge is whether you'll believe it. Whether you'll stop doubting and start trusting. Whether you'll stop looking outside and start looking within.